Hi, everybody. I'm Susan Scott. I'm the patient representative talking about Octopus this afternoon. I'm actually a scientist. I got a PhD in cholesterol biochemistry donkeys years ago and don't remember anything about it. But I have spent my career in the pharmaceutical industry in clinical drug development, project management, and more latterly in scientific publication management. I had the misfortune of being diagnosed with MS 22 years ago now, in 2001, and had a bad time for a year or two with disabling relapses. But I was very fortunate in getting access to one of the really effective disease-modifying therapies early on after diagnosis, so within the first year. And it's meant that I haven't had any relapses since then at all. So on one hand, I was very unfortunate, but the next I was very fortunate. I joined the MS Society and then the Research Network and came across a lot of colleagues also with MS, but who really hadn't been as fortunate as me at all. Many of them now with progressive MS, which has a hugely disabling effect and limiting effect on how you can live your life. So that's really why I've got into being so enthused to work with the team on the Octopus trial, in the MAMS trial in progressive MS. So I'll talk a little bit about how we've contributed at all stages and then a few takeaways. This is a complex slide, and there's no need to read all of it. It just shows that there's a complex design consortium that was set up in 2018. And there are all sorts of different committees and subcommittees. But the important thing is that people with MS were included in all of these groups right from the start. And I believe that that's the way to go about it, is to start off working with people with MS right from the beginning. One of the interesting groups was a treatment selection strategy group, which was led by the neurologists who were looking at the evidence for which drugs, which repurposed drugs should go into this trial for progressive MS. And they were obviously looking at it from the scientific evidence point of view. But there were also a group of people affected by MS who were naturally enough looking at the number of tablets that they'd have to take, or whether it was an injection or an infusion, and what the side effects and risks were. But also, do you have to, if it was oral, did you have to take it in particular relationship to food? And latterly, the over-encapsulation of the drugs has been done with vegan capsules to allow accessibility to everybody. And on the right-hand side, the overall evaluation I thought was very interesting from an MS point of view, and essentially it's looking at benefit risk, whether the people would take this drug even if it only moderately slowed their MS, or if they would take the drug if it completely stopped the progression of the MS, or if they wouldn't take the drug at any price. And those are important considerations. That group has moved on now into a treatment advisory committee, which continually looks at horizon scanning the scientific evidence, but there are still patients involved in that group, and they've already recommended 3 additional arms in addition to the 2 that have started out in Octopus, which are metformin and alpha-lipoic acid. This is the subcommittee that I was involved with, the Trial Design and Delivery Strategy Group, where we were looking at a number of different things in terms of recruitment, access and fairness to all patients across the country and to all groups of patients with progressive MS. So we were particularly keen that the eligibility criteria would be wide-reaching and inclusive. So progressive MS patients are often older than relapsing remitting MS, so we have a much higher upper limit for the age group than in many MS trials. The EDSS scores are also higher than you would normally expect. So it's enabling people who can no longer walk and are in wheelchairs to be able to participate in the trial. And that's really important. We talked here, mentioned earlier by Max, I think, about the appeal of taking part and the disappointment that there would be if you're randomised to an arm which stops very shortly afterwards due to lack of efficacy. So the question was, well, if somebody was happy to be washed out and offered the chance to be re-randomised, was that feasible? And as a patient group, we were really keen that that should be the case. Unfortunately, that is the case in the Octopus trials. That's really quite a step forward, because if you're on a trial that could potentially be 5 years, but you're dropped out after only 2 or 3 months, that's enormously disappointing. We asked for further input on that trial design aspects because I felt that only 1 or 2 of us was not enough, really. So we held 3 workshops in 2018-19 across the country, and the people who attended those were not the regular patients who comment on MS trials, like those from in the MS Society Research Network, but people who've not been involved before, who were recruited through social media in particular. And we got good responses because patients co-led the workshops, so there wasn't too much of a power imbalance. And we got strong views back in terms of communication, that it isn't good enough just to communicate in the traditional fashion with face-to-face meetings and hard copies, but social media and emails and texts and blogs and podcasts and everything needed to be used to involve patients. The incentives and barriers to participation we also looked at, and there were some interesting things. For example, MRI scans. On one hand, they could be seen as a barrier. How often do you have to have an MRI scan? How long are you going to be in the scanner for? So that was a worry. But on the other hand, people with progressive MS have often not had not much active intervention for years and years in any case, rarely seen healthcare professionals. So the chance for them to get MRI scans and actually learn something about their condition was seen as a positive by many people. In terms of the outcome measures, we didn't want to just focus on EDSS, which is very much mobility linked. And if you're now not very mobile, either on canes or in a wheelchair, then preserving your arm and hand function is absolutely critical. I mean, it's just so important. And so that is one of the parts of the composite primary endpoint in the Octopus trial, and that was put forward strongly by patients who also have a lot of issues with fatigue and cognition. So, and those are secondary endpoints in the Octopus trial as well. So that there's been a lot of collaboration. Those patient inputs have gone forward into a PPI forum, which sort of gets activated at various times. They commented very much on the MAMS design in the early stages of development. There was 2 years ago, there was a lot of discussion about whether patients could show their interest by using the MS register and having a registration of interest questionnaire linked to that. And so there was viewpoints on that. When the actual portal, patient portal was being developed 2 years ago, there was a lot of input on how it should look and what the language should be and so on. And then last year, looking at the participant information sheet and how things were expressed there. So I've been a co-applicant on the grant application to the MS Society 2 years ago now, I think. I helped to write the lay summary, and as you've heard, I was involved in the discussions about the recruitment strategy. And then I was very delighted to be invited to join the trial management group, and also I sit on the communications subgroup. We have regular monthly meetings, and I've contributed to the protocol, the patient-informed consent, the registration of interest questionnaire, and a variety of different communication materials. My key takeaways really are that it's really important to aim for clinical research co-design with patients or their carers, and to choose patient representatives who wish to be involved in the research and want to learn and want to contribute. And there are lots of us. I mean, certainly in the MS Society, there's a research network of hundreds of patients who contribute in various different ways to research. So there's plenty of access, at least through the MS Society, to people with MS who are interested. Jeremy and Max have been absolutely great in embedding me as a permanent member of the trial management group, the clinical design and operation teams. I'm invited to the regular monthly meetings. They actively ask my opinion on discussion topics, especially if I haven't said very much, which is increasingly rare because I usually have something to say now. I think it's also important to make necessary accommodations for accessibility. So I'm okay, I'm fully mobile and so on, but if people are limited in their physical mobility, then it's important to pay attention if there are face-to-face meetings with access, the entrance, toilet facilities, and those sorts of things. But also virtually, if people are joining Zoom meetings, if somebody suddenly disappears for a while, it might be because they just had to rush off to the loo in a great hurry. Or if they look as if they're falling asleep on the Zoom, it's not necessarily because you bored them to tears, but maybe because they're having a really bad day in terms of fatigue. So these are all things that need to be taken into account. And in terms of if you've got contentious topics, then just don't rely on one or two patients with MS. Seek a broader viewpoint from the patient community. And all I would say is thank you very much for the opportunity to to present to you today. And thank you very much to Jeremy and to Max for giving me the privilege to be on the Octopus trial, which I really, really hope generates some good treatments for people with progressive MS, just as people with relapsing remitting MS have had that great opportunity over the last 20 years. So over the next 20, I hope we'll see the end of progressive MS and its great disabilities. So thank you very much.
Great, so thank you very much. So I think all the speakers